What's up guys, and welcome back to Just Carlos. So I have been playing a lot of D&D with my friends lately, and we've been doing a lot of different campaigns, but I've been kind of want to do something different lately. So I went out and decided to make a D&D style Fortnite board game. Now, I made this a little more complicated than what it needs to be probably, because I did use some D&D rules, but what I'm going to be showing you guys today is how I made some of the things that I use for this board game, and at the end of the video we'll even talk about terrain and different ideas for terrain and what you can do to kind of make it a lot more fun for yourselves. Now before we get started with this video, let me just preface by saying there's a lot of things I could have done maybe a lot simpler, but I just find that if you're willing to go that extra mile for one of your projects, you're going to be that much happier with the results, and that's exactly what I did. So without further ado, let's get started. So the first thing I wanted to do was make these nifty item cards for my players. That way they could keep track of all their gear and items without having to write it down, and so they wouldn't forget that they had it in the first place. I made the cards using a cheap and easy to use software called Autodesk Graphic. It's actually a really amazing software, and I would recommend it to just about anybody. I use it for everything, and as a matter of fact I've almost never used Photoshop because of this software. It's really easy to learn and all the tools are really simple. I'm not in any way sponsored by them, I just honestly think it's an awesome product and I've been using it for years for just about any graphic that I've ever made. All the resources for this card were really easy to find. For example, the background graphic of the card I found on a Google image where I just searched Fortnite backgrounds, and the PNG of the weapon came directly from the Fortnite wiki itself. All of the weapon stats and item effects also came from the wiki, minus the firing distance. That I kinda had to make up on my own. So once I had the card template made and ready to go, all I had to do was swap the names and the photos and the effects to make the other cards. It really doesn't take as long as it might seem. Print the cards out on regular copy paper and cut them out. The cards may seem a little flimsy and fragile, but we're about to fix that. To make the cards look more professional and last a little longer, take a regular playing card, or in this case I used a Yu-Gi-Oh card, place it behind your printed card, and slide both of them into a sleeve. Not only does this protect the card you just printed, but it makes it look a whole lot more professional. So the next thing I wanted to do was make player tokens for each of my players. Obviously the best part of Fortnite are the skins, so I googled Fortnite skins, found a good one, and threw it into Autodesk Graphic. I used the pen tool to carefully trace around the outline of the character. You can either do this little by little, or use the pen tool to make long curved lines. Remember that it doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to go all the way around. After I finished tracing around the character, I used the combine tool to remove the background. This is one of those steps that could have been made easier by just printing it out on the paper and cutting around the outline of the character, but I wanted to make sure that I could fit at least 3 characters on one sheet of copy paper. So getting rid of the background really helps save on paper and ink. To make sure these player tokens can stand up on their own and that they last for a while, we're going to be printing them on Shrinky Dink Inkjet paper. Once they're printed, cut them out and throw them in the oven for about a minute. Remember to print them at an appropriate size because they will be shrinking down to about a third of what they were before. I also cut and shrunk circular bases to hot glue the tokens to. I was pretty happy with the final result. As far as making a game board goes, I decided to use an old Heroscape kit that I had when I was younger. I love the aesthetic of it and it's completely customizable, so I can make any kind of terrain that I want. Unfortunately the game was discontinued, but the terrain itself is not too hard to come by, and it's not all that expensive if you look in the right places. For more ideas on how to make game boards and terrain, I would recommend looking up Blackmagic Crafts or Miscast Terrain. They both specialize in making awesome and affordable D&D style terrain. Other than that, if you don't want to overcomplicate your game board, you could always use a large piece of poster board and draw some 1-inch squares on them. And that's pretty much it guys. I mean, the only thing I'm not showing y'all is how I actually play this game, and that's because it's probably a little more complicated than what it needs to be, and I want to inspire you guys to kind of go out and make up your own rules with the tools that I've given you. However, if we can manage to hit 50 likes on this video, I'll go ahead and record myself playing with a few friends, that way I can show you guys how this game works for me and the rules that I have in place. Also, I'll release templates for the cards that I made, that way you don't have to make them yourselves, you can just print out mine, and I'll even release templates for the character tokens, that way you can print them out too. So that's pretty much it for the video. I hope you guys liked it, I hope you learned something, I hope you were inspired to go out and make your own games. If you want to see more videos like this, make sure you comment down below, make sure you subscribe to support me, and I'll see you guys in the next one.